Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Off the Iron with the Goodwin boys. Adam.
And Evan.
Back at it once again for the first time in 84 years. We're back at it, ladies and gentlemen.
We are back.
Lot has happened.
Yeah, busy times.
A lot, to say the least. Pretty much a whole playoff year. COVID, lots of sports coming back. It's been a ridiculous amount of time, but we are officially back.
NFL's back.
Sorry?
The NFL's back now too.
Yeah, with not zero fans, but some fans. It's definitely a unique time. It's a 2020 thing, pretty much.
Yeah, 2020 can shove it. I thought 2019 was bad.
2020 can indeed shove it. But welcome back to Off the Iron, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to be back. Real quick, right off the bat, just a quick reminder that Off the Iron is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Barbecue Catering. Got an event coming up. Call the good folks at Rocky Mountain Barbecue Catering. Whether it be corporate, birthday, anniversary, or wedding, they can help provide a great tasting, professional, and mobile catering experience. Visit their website at www.rockymountainbarbecue.ca and request a free quote for your event. If catering is not your need, then come by their storefront. Pick up a lunch combo with any one of their signature smoked meats, sausages, or burgers with 2 sides and a drink for just $12. Open 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on weekdays. Go visit them at 5303 68th Avenue, Southeast Calgary.
And are they fully COVID compliant?
They are. They got screens, masks, zero contact until, handoff. When they hand off your meal, they are fully COVID compliant with how weird 2020 has been. But hey, go with the flow, and with whatever life throws at you, we always try and roll with the punches, as they say. That's
all you can do. Really.
And also, don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. We are on pretty much all platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. On Twitter, we're at Off the Iron Pod. On Instagram, we're at Off the Iron Podcast. As well, our Gmail, offtheironpodcast@gmail.com. And also introducing our YouTube channel. If you want to see the video, if you want to see the video recordings of our podcast, just go in the search bar and search Off the Iron Podcast. You'll see our ugly mugs pop up there on the on the YouTube page. So that's an exciting.
Well, yours is slightly less ugly because you don't have your mustache anymore. So
yes, I did get rid of that bad boy.
No more duster for you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's where things stand right now, and hopefully we'll be doing this more often for you guys.
Yeah, there's plans to start up a website and kind of organize all our content in one particular spot for you guys to consume and interact with as well. So that's in the works for next year. It's been quite a busy summer for both of us. I know, Adam, your work is definitely ramped up as things are starting to, start back up again and get moving. Same with me. I've been going at a pretty fierce clip with work because I'm an IT consultant and people are moving all their workforces to home and to working from home. So it's been a very busy summer for me. Lots of long hours, but not really complaining. A lot of people would love to be in my spot. I know that, and lots of people out of work out there. So hopefully we get things turned around here and get some people back to work. But
that's one thing I want to say too. Like, I'm glad that I've been able to actually keep a job during this whole time. Our lunch window kind of kept us afloat, and then when events started happening again, obviously not to the quantity or the style of what we're used to doing, but it's been nice to kind of get back out there. And I think I had about maybe 7 days off total between now and June 15th. So
that's pretty good.
Been a crazy 2.5-3 months. So, but we're rolling with the punches.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's good. It's good to hear that people are still planning some events and staying under the the COVID limits for social gatherings and all that stuff, and spending money. And that's going to be a big thing. Supporting local business, of course.
Yeah, we're gonna need that. No better time to support local, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's been good. So what have you been keeping your free time occupied with? You've been playing lots of NHL online, or what? What's going on?
Little bit of NHL. Mostly, I got hooked. I went deep into a game called Red Dead Redemption 2. It's been out for a while. If anyone doesn't know what it's like, it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but in the Wild West times. And I was just hooked. It's one of the most in-depth gaming experiences I've ever had. So I was hooked on that when I wasn't working, pretty much.
Nice, good stuff.
And earlier in the summer, I was doing some online scouting. Still doing that for dubnetwork.ca, but obviously with no minor hockey being really started up here, we have kind of put a stop to that because we've already done our draft previews for next year. So we'll see where the minor hockey situation goes from here on out.
Yeah, what is the story around that? Is like the WHL and all of the junior A leagues and stuff like that, are they all planning on starting up here in the fall, or they kind of in a holding pattern to wait and see what happens?
I think they're doing like on ice stuff now. Obviously they're keeping the numbers down, and the social distancing still is a thing. I'm not sure what the situation is like. Obviously, if I'm not involved with any teams, I mean, I'm probably not going to be allowed in the building, is what I would assume. But I haven't looked into dates or anything because I haven't really heard anything. But yeah, how about you?
Oh, what have I not been doing? Did finally finish my deck reno. It took me way longer than I thought it was going to. It took me 2.5 months to finish off the deck, but it looks brand new. We're looking forward to enjoying that late into the fall here. Hopefully hopefully that white stuff stays away, and we get a little bit of warmer weather here into October, but not holding my breath because it's 2020. But other than that, I've just been kind of getting the house ready. Got the wee one on the way. She'll be here, let's see, 3.5, 4 weeks from now. So
isn't it exactly 1 month out from the due date now?
On Tuesday, yeah, this coming Tuesday. So I guess we should say we're recording this on September 20th at 4:00 in the afternoon, just for the timeline there. But yeah, no, getting busy for that. We've got pretty much everything ready to go there. Mentally preparing myself for that too a little bit. It's a big shift in priorities and just in overall thinking and stuff like that. It's not all about yourself and my wife. We're responsible for another human being now, so yeah. we gotta get our heads ready for that, which we're doing a pretty good job on that as well too. So getting really excited for it to all happen and for the wee one to arrive. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of guitar too. You're a gamer. I got a new one. You're a gamer. I'm a musician, so I've been playing hours and hours of guitar in my free time too. Likely because when the wee one gets here, I won't be playing much guitar. So
kind of hard to keep that quiet, eh?
I've got some headphones. I can plug headphones into my amps and stuff here too. I got a little practice amp now too, so that's not very loud, but I can't play my giant stack that I have. That's 350 watts.
No rock concerts in Evan Lindsay's house, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I have a giant stack here that's 350 watts, and it goes from 1 to 16 on the volume knob, and I can't even turn it up to like 0.25 without the neighbors complaining here. So, I might have to end up selling that. I don't know if I need that anymore. That was back from my university days when I played in the band. So yeah, that's what I've been busy doing. And of course, watching hockey.
Yeah, definitely. I've been watching as much as I can. Obviously, I haven't been able to watch as much as in previous years because usually our event times are right around when games are starting, just as a little piss off there, eh? But yeah, I've been trying to keep my eye on as much stuff as possible. And yeah, it's been quite an entertaining couple of months of hockey, despite no fan noise, which only artificial noise, of course. But it's been an interesting time period for hockey. Let's say that.
Yeah, I think the NHL did a really good job with this bubble, though. I mean, proven in the results, there hasn't been a single COVID test that, to my knowledge, in either bubble. Yeah. Obviously, the Toronto bubble is no longer with where we're at in the playoff structure.
Yeah.
So we're down to one bubble now, but they did an excellent job, I think. They were really thorough, and players, for the most part, from what I've heard, respected the rules around if you leave the bubble, you're gone kind of thing, or you're not coming back, which a few players did end up leaving. We can talk about that. Mm-hmm. We had Tuukka Rask end up leaving halfway through the playoff series, the first round or second round? No, just after the first round, I think.
Yeah.
Before Boston was ousted by Tampa in the second round. For various reasons. I think it came out after the fact, after the entire Bruins fan base just laid into him for abandoning the team and stuff like that, which was uncalled for. Came out that his daughter was not well, and there was too much of a health risk there for him to continue. So players got families at home too that are trying to deal with this as well. So it's you got to keep that in mind too. So obviously family first. That's my motto. That's what a lot of these guys' motto is. So
we saw that with Travis Hamonic too. He opted out for the Flames, and I believe his child has a respiratory issue, so that's kind of why he decided to stay home, which obviously okay with that.
Yeah, Flames could have used him. Definitely.
Yeah.
But oh well. Definitely made the right decision for his family, so that's what you got to do.
Definitely.
But, it's been. I don't mind the no fans as much. I mean, obviously in the playoffs, you're used to like the buildings just being on fire, right? And on electric.
Definitely in the pre-games build up too.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice for Sea of Red to go against the whiteout in Winnipeg, but obviously that playoff series likely wouldn't have happened if it was just normal times, right? So the qualifying round was, I think, a good compromise for finishing off the season and getting some teams in the playoffs. I mean, you could tell there were some teams in the qualifying round that didn't have a hope in hell of getting out of it, like Minnesota and Vancouver just dummied Minnesota.
And Chicago, right? They didn't have a hope in hell, right? Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
What happened?
Yeah. Let's not rag on Edmonton right now. We can save that for later. But, for example, Florida, they didn't have hope in hell in beating the Islanders. I thought the Rangers would have given Carolina more of a go, but Carolina pretty much ran them over right from the start. I think that series was over right from the end of the first period when it was 2-0 Carolina. Like New York had nothing.
That was interesting for Carolina. They ran over New York and then got ran over by Boston. I thought they were going to give Boston everything they had, but quick 5-game series for that one, and it was over.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Carolina there. I don't think they were. They didn't get the goaltending like they got last year, I think was the issue there. I think forward rank there. I mean, up front, Boston, I think, is a little deeper just because they have the best line in hockey still. Mm-hmm. But on the back end, Carolina had a big advantage for sure. Yeah. But I don't know. Boston seemed to find a way there. And then, of course, the two big upsets, one you already alluded to with Edmonton going out in 5 games, which, oh man, that sucks. It's kind of funny that the first playoff series win in Edmonton's new arena up there came from the Flames. Beating Winnipeg. A little salt in the wound there for Edmonton fans, but also
thought we weren't ragging on him. Bro.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't. And then also the big upset out east, the Maple Leafs bowing out to the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I had Tortorella winning the Jack Adams for what he did with that team. Bruce Cassidy ended up winning it, but that team without with all the players they lost, Bobrovsky, Panarin, all those guys, kind of thought they'd take a step back this year, but nope. They locked things down defensively. They got great goaltending from Korpisalo and Merzlikins. didn't matter who was in net for them. And
their goaltending was fantastic.
yeah, and Dubois is a horse up front. That guy is a legit number one center.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I agree with you. I think Tortorella probably should have got the Jack Adams Trophy this year. Cassidy, he's Boston's coach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just trying to picture who he's coaching. Boston had a pretty damn good year too, so it's hard to do that. I
it's
would
not
throw
like undeserving for sure.
Yeah, I would have thrown Barry Trotz in the mix there too for the Islanders, but yeah, I mean Tortorella would have been my pick if I was submitting a vote. Just for the simple fact that there was no superstar on that team, and you know, it was a typical Tortorella team where it's four lines coming at you.
Yeah.
Everyone's bought in, playing the system, blocking shots. But case in point, Dubois had a horrible game number 2 in that series versus the Leafs, or it might have been game number 3. Anyways, Columbus ended up losing. I think the series got evened, and Tortorella was all over. I'm drawing a blank on the player's name.
Dubois.
Number 1 center. Dubois, thank you.
Yeah.
All over him. He just knows how to motivate players, because the next game and further on in that series, Dubois, the Leafs didn't have any answer for him.
He took over.
Force. So that's why I think Tortorella probably should have won the Jack Adams, just for he knows how to get the most out of his players, even though they may not be the most talented players in the world. I'm not saying that about Dubois, but yeah, no, he's well deserving. And to be honest, the Blue Jackets were a better team that entire series. The Leafs were lucky to get to Game 5 when they had their miraculous comeback there and won in overtime.
Yeah, it's more of the same for the Maple Leafs. I mean, it kind of falls back on Frederik Andersen hasn't won a big game for the Maple Leafs. I know it's more than just goaltending, because he's been good for a long time there, but in big games he just hasn't been himself, and it's been, you know, another bad thing for the Leafs in big games. I know they've come up short in recent years, and Andersen seems to be a problem with that, and it's led to a little bit of speculation with him in this offseason, but that seems to have died down a little bit. Seems he's going to stay because he is a free agent at the end of this upcoming season, so be interesting to see what Kyle Dubas does there.
Yeah, that core really hasn't done anything other than win that one series against Boston. They haven't really done anything. So it's the same story with the Flames too. It's our core hasn't really done anything either.
Yeah. And on that note, we're gonna do a Flames deep dive between now and the start of the draft. Today's show and next week's will probably just be more league-wide focused, and focus on the Cup final and see what happens there, and then we'll go into a deep Flames dive. Hopefully no moves get made in terms of trades or anything like that, but we'll see.
Yeah. So qualifying rounds, any surprises? We kind of were talking a little bit about the qualifying round already, but any surprises? So who's the biggest surprise coming out of the qualifying round? And I think we already talked about what was the biggest letdown.
Yeah.
Coming out of the qualifying round
already. Round 1 or the qualifying round?
The qualifying round.
Well, yeah, the biggest letdown I think was probably Toronto, for just the fact that they couldn't beat, with all that talent on that team, they couldn't get past Columbus. And then I'd say the biggest surprise, we kind of mentioned it real quick. Like I thought the Rangers would give Carolina a real battle. I thought it was going 5 games. The Rangers had great goaltending. They bleed chances, but they have a lead offense on that team with Panarin and Zibanejad and so on and so forth. But Carolina just dominated them in 3 games straight and wasn't really close in the end. So those would be my letdown and surprise of the qualifying round.
Yeah, those are good ones. For me, I think the biggest surprise coming out of the qualifying round was Montreal handily beating the Pittsburgh Penguins in 4 games. Like the Penguins really looked out of place there. They did not look like the Stanley Cup contenders they always are. Although I think they're coming to the end of their window now. Their core that was so good, and they're still good now, but they're starting to show their age a little bit. Crosby misses, stretches of games now from injury that he never did in the first part of his career. Same with Malkin. Malkin's having a tough time staying healthy, and Letang, and just go on down the list there. They're not getting the goaltending that they once did, although Jari did step up and kind of fill that void during the regular season. But Matt Murray struggled, hence why his name's being bounced around on trade block after trade block here. He's been linked to both the Oilers and the Flames too. So
I'm actually kind of surprised he hasn't been traded yet.
Yeah, me too.
How much smoke there seems to be with that fire, but
I'm hearing Pittsburgh wants too much in return right now, is what the rumor is out there. But yeah, the Canadians looked great in that qualifying round. They were bought in, they were flying. Of course, they got Price in the back end there, who shut the door handily against the Penguins. I think I'm not sure if he shut out the Penguins one game. I think he did, but the Canadians had no business winning that game. They were just, they lost 1-0, the Penguins kind of thing, because of Price. But yeah, that's my biggest surprise was the Canadians. I did not pick them to beat Pittsburgh, that's for sure. And then the letdown, of course, would be the Oilers losing in the qualifying round to the Blackhawks for me. Would have been nice to see them go a little bit further, but Chicago looked great in that qualifying round. They handily outplayed the Oilers in their own head. That's what won it. It wasn't goaltending for the Blackhawks. They got scoring by committee from the Blackhawks, but there wasn't an outstanding offensive output by any means by any single player. Although there were the standouts for sure. Kirby Dach, look out for him.
Yeah,
he had a hell of a series there. But the Blackhawks expose what the Oilers' weak point is every year, which is their back end. So. And then they didn't get the goaltending like they did last year. The previous year. But yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to wrap it up and say that would be my disappointment from the qualifying round for sure.
And with Edmonton, it might not seem as dark as it does with the back end, because they do have a couple guys coming up. Broberg and Bouchard are both going to be real good, I think. Bouchard is long-awaited right-hand shot that they need on that back end behind Adam Larson, who's, I think a second-pairing defenseman, not a top-pairing guy. But Evan Bouchard looks like he could be potentially a top-pairing guy. So hopefully, not that I'm hoping Edmonton gets that much better, but they should get better with those two additions on the back end next year. And there's all sorts of talk about them going after Petro too. I don't know how that would go for cap reasons. A lot of stuff going on.
There'd have to be a lot going the other way, but that's what you have to do in Edmonton. Yeah. Unfortunately, you're going to have to sacrifice a few good players up front, or at least one good player up front, maybe Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and a couple picks to get it over to Pietrangelo. Maybe even more than that, who knows? It's tough to predict what would go the other way in COVID times, just with the economics. Like I said before this podcast, haven't quite wrapped my head around the economics of the whole COVID era here around the salary cap and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot smarter minds that get paid a lot more money to figure that out than you and I.
Yeah, it's definitely throwing a wrench in teams' plans, because I think there was talk about it, even like the cap even going up to as high as like 86 million or something. And now it's going to be at 81.5 million for at least this upcoming season and the next season, I would say. But yeah, it's definitely going to lead to teams going to have to make some tough decisions. And I don't know how some teams are going to get away from contracts and how they're going to create cap space, but I'm sure they'll find a way.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. I read an article the other day that the Oilers may be considering buying out James Neal as well to make some cap space.
Yeah, that's
which is funny.
Yeah, I mean, he did score almost 20 goals, I believe. He got about 19, I think, was his final tally. But Yeah, they're going to have to do something to clear up cap space. Especially, I mean, Andreas Athanasiou isn't going to be back there. It doesn't sound like it either, so they're going to lose some there. But he was that trade kind of went horribly for Edmonton when I think about it now. 2 second-round picks, and he barely provided any production when he got there.
Yeah, I think he only had 1 or 2 points. Never really found a fit, unfortunately. Yeah, Edmonton kind of got screwed over a little bit with their trade acquisitions because Mike Green decided not to play at all. So that, if I was Edmonton, I'd be fucking pissed about that. Excuse my language. But because you expend assets and picks for a player who you think would play, and then all of a sudden he just opts out. He's at the tail end of his career. He probably would have retired after this year anyways. But
actually,
I mean, can't fault the player.
I think he did actually announce his retirement, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he retired.
Yeah, so bit of a shocker there. I think kind of not ending on the note he'd like to, I imagine, but that's how.
Well, he won his cup or cups. I think he won 2, didn't he? One with Detroit and.
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry, Washington. Duh.
No.
Yeah, Washington. Yeah.
Oh, he was in Detroit by then too. Yeah, he didn't win one.
Oh, what? I thought he won one.
No, he signed with Detroit back in like 2016.
Oh, okay. I had that back. Okay, never mind. Wrong timeline. I thought he won one. Never mind. All right. Well, let's move on to a quick recap of the first round. Who's your biggest surprise coming out of the first round? What series did you enjoy the most, and what's your biggest upset or I don't even know how to describe that. Letdown. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, letdown obviously with being 12 seconds away from a 3-1 lead in the series would be the Calgary Flames.
I second that. That's my letdown as well.
It was just painful to watch, especially the game 6. It was unbelievable. I couldn't up 3-0. Okay, yeah, this is going great, awesome, and then just a complete shift in momentum.
Well, I knew. I had just had a sinking feeling that when Lucic took that penalty, that they were going to score a quick one on the power play, and if they did, I knew the Flames were in trouble. And sure enough, bang bang. I even said that to Lindsay on the couch, my wife. I'm like, watch it. If they score this power play, the Flames are not going to respond very well to this. And sure enough, it was just crumble, 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 explode. Unfortunately, the Flames showed their weakness to lock down and actually close out a series. And then their mindset, I don't know what's with them. As a professional hockey team, you shouldn't crumble and allow 6 goals in one game like that back to back after having a 3-0 lead. Like there's no reason for that. I'm not sure. That's 2 years in a row that's happened, but I don't know what to do there.
Just their biggest problem seems that they just can't put together a solid 60 minutes. It goes in and out. Like teams are inconsistent, yes, but the Flames are inconsistent period to period. It's bizarre. It's something they got to fix going forward. And speaking of the Flames, we haven't really mentioned that interim head coach Jeff Ward has had that title removed. He is now the official head coach. We'll just mention that, but and we'll go into a little bit more of a deep dive when we do our deep dive on the Flames. But just wanted to put that out there. But so that was my biggest letdown. I think my biggest surprise, I'm going to say Vancouver over St. Louis. Just, defending champions. Obviously, Binnington struggled compared to last season. Jake Allen ended up relieving him for the last 3 games there. But Vancouver was just solid all the way around. Solid goaltending. Quinn Hughes is a horse, man. That kid's going to be so good.
Oh, man. Vancouver, they're actually my surprise for the entire playoffs. I did not expect them to do what they did in this year's playoffs. They looked really good. Unfortunately, they're developing. They're young, so they're going to make a few mistakes, and they got burned by that, or Vegas capitalized on that in the second round. But they looked good. They shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, and they have those solid like core building blocks. They got the elite number one center in Pedersen, the elite number one defenseman in Hughes. Um,
Solid
we'll see what
goaltending.
we'll see what happens with the goaltending because Markstrom is a free agent this year, but Demko looks, as we saw in the second round against Vegas, he looks like he's going to be a number one goalie for years to come. Thanks for taking Mason McDonald ahead of him. Thatcher Demko in 2014.
Oh well,
solid.
can't win them all.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, that would be my biggest surprise. And then also, my something that made me really mad was, well, not mad, but just had no interest in watching was Colorado just absolutely demolish Arizona. I mean, that was just pathetic from Arizona. I know the Flames had a big letdown in Game 6, but holy, Arizona was just completely outclassed in every single way against Colorado. Just brutal.
Well, Colorado can do that to a lot of teams. I had a feeling if the round robin shook down and Calgary ended up playing Colorado instead of Dallas, they probably would have done that to Calgary too. Yeah. So, I agree with you. It was the Coyotes definitely did not show up at all.
No.
They had a decent qualifying round series. They beat the Predators, so they're no joke there.
Mm-hmm.
They run into the Juggernaut and the Avalanche in that round, and it showed. And, they lost 4-1. And the only game they won was because Kemper stood on his head. I think he made 40 saves in a shutout or something like that. But the only reason this round was even close at times was because of the goaltending. They were completely outplayed right from the first whistle to the last whistle.
And of course, in true Arizona Coyote fashion, now they are now shopping Darcy Kemper. So that makes sense.
Arizona's going to be competing with Ottawa for the worst franchise in the league coming up here pretty quick. They got financial problems too. They haven't paid their players. They're weeks behind on their bills and stuff like that. So plus their GM just kind of left the team right before the start of the bubble there.
I think he saw this coming. That's the only explanation I could come up with.
Definitely. That was a little bit of a letdown for sure. But for me, the biggest letdown outside of course, the Flames, I was very disappointed with that because they played some great hockey in that series. Just couldn't put it together for a consistent 60-minute. But biggest letdown for me in the East was the Capitals. Man, the Islanders made them look stupid.
Definitely. And we've seen the repercussions of it already. Todd Reardon out as head coach and Peter Laviolette in. And you heard all sorts of rumors about the Capitals that they weren't totally committed to being in the bubble and treating it seriously or taking the game seriously. And Elliot Friedman on 31 Thoughts said that they kind of thought the Capitals kind of lost their edge from a couple years ago, and maybe that came from coaching. And I'm sure Laviolette will get them back on track. But yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
Well, their Todd Reardon, their head coach, even came out and said it after they were eliminated that, we basically came here for a vacation. I'm paraphrasing. That wasn't the exact quote, but called out his team that they were not prepared to play. They did not want to be there. And it showed because, man, with all the talent on that team, the Islanders made them look stupid. As soon as the Islanders got ahead, you knew the Islanders were going to win. There was no way that the Capitals could come back against them. And that's a nod to the Islanders as well. They did that in the second round and then almost did it in the third round too. But luckily Tampa squeaked past them. But so that'd be my letdown for sure. My biggest surprise, I agree with you, was Vancouver beating St. Louis in 6 games. Did not see that coming. Although I did pick Vancouver over St. Louis, but I thought it would go 7.
Ooh.
And then, that would be my surprise. I actually really enjoyed watching the Vegas-Chicago series just because I like the way that both those teams play. Obviously, they were severely outmatched, the Blackhawks, with the Golden Knights. I like watching Vegas play any team, to be honest.
Yeah.
'Cause I just love the way they play. They just come at you in waves, all four lines. But that was an entertaining series. Lots of scoring, lots of leads, and then comebacks and stuff like that. So it was a great series to watch as well.
Yeah, good. It's always fun to watch Vegas, and Chicago's still high flying. They kind of rely on the heavy offense and then kind of bleed chances at the defensive end. So that always is a recipe for entertaining hockey. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to round number 2. What's your biggest letdown? What's your biggest surprise? And any other thoughts on round number 2?
The biggest letdown for me was the Philadelphia Flyers. They looked, they earned the number 1 seed coming out of the round robin portion of the bubble. But against, you give credit to the Islanders. They played well. They deserved it. But Philly just not enough from their top guys. Giroux.
Their top guys went to sleep in this series. That's for sure.
Yeah, until he had broken the streak late in the series, Giroux had gone something like 22 games without a goal in the playoffs.
That's crazy to think
not
of.
in the round robin, but yeah, it was crazy. Carter Hart, he was good but not great. Yeah. So a little bit disappointing, and Konechny kind of disappeared in the playoffs too. From having a breakout regular season where he was looking to be, a point per game kind of stud type of guy for them. And he kind of disappeared in that second round against New York.
Yeah, they definitely had some scoring problems, that's for sure. They did have some third and fourth liners step up for them. Scott Lawton got a few key goals for them too, and that's the only reason the series went 7 games. I would say was because they got a little bit of depth scoring. They would have won that series if their top 2 lines were clicking, for sure, I think. Carter Hart held them in there for a few games too, although he did look – it was weird. He had an up and down series. A couple games he looked like he was the best goalie left in the playoffs, and then followed it up with the next game, and he looked like it was his first NHL game out there.
Showed his age a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think the goaltending situation in Philly is shaping up to be pretty good. I think Carter Hart will, give him another year or two. He's going to be one of the top goalies in the league for sure.
Definitely.
He's got the talent and the ability to bounce back and get your head right, that kind of thing. Because when he got lit up for 4 goals there in 2 periods, I was like, oh, that's probably not good for the young goalie's confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
But he ended up bouncing back, and then they forced it to 7 games. But, they did not look good. I agree with you. Sorry, I kind of cut you off. Finish your thoughts there.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to say, move on to my biggest surprise, and that's Colorado losing to Dallas. I knew Dallas – we knew they were good, and they didn't look good for the first 2 games against Calgary, even though they came out with a 1-1 series tie through 2 games.
That's the story of Dallas's whole playoff run.
Yeah. We knew that all season that they were good defensively. They had, great goaltending, but the offense just seemed to sputter all year long. But now they were the highest scoring team in the playoffs through 3 rounds, I think, or top 2 they may have been with the Islanders. But Colorado I just thought would just overwhelm them. And then they also have that, franchise stud, superstar McKinnon to kind of elevate and take them to the next level. But obviously I think the Avalanche got a little bit unlucky with injuries. Their starting goaltender, Grubauer, went down. Not that he's an elite goalie, but he's better than Francouz or Frances, however.
Or Hutchinson, although Hutchinson did play quite well when he had to come in.
Definitely. And but I just thought, with Makar and Girard on the back end, I just thought that Colorado was going to take it in 6 games, but Dallas just, proved with Anton Hudobin, manning the pipes back there. He just put the team on his back, and Jamie Benn started to pick up steam as the series went on too. And I think another big surprise with the Stars is that they've made it this far without hardly any production from Tyler Seguin.
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably talk about Sagan. He has had not the greatest playoff. I mean, he's in it every night. You do notice him out there, but points wise, he hasn't been there. But in Dallas's, to credit Dallas, their third and fourth line have stepped up and filled that scoring void. I mean,
definitely.
Perry has a few goals. Pavelski's finally found his scoring touch again. He's had a couple huge goals for them. They're getting contributions from, I cannot pronounce his name, the little Finnish rookie.
Kiviranta.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, just a casual Hattie in Game 7, eh?
Yeah, just a casual hat trick, exactly.
Including an overtime winner.
But like Gurianov has had stellar playoffs too. And then, of course, you can't say enough about their back end. I mean,
Miro Heiskanen, man.
Heiskanen, he's going to win some Norris trophies coming up here for sure.
Yeah.
He's an excellent, excellent player. Klimberg has had a pretty decent playoffs. He's injured now, though, isn't he? I don't remember seeing him on the ice last night.
To be honest, I did miss Game 1 last night. I think he left about halfway through the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't really looked at Twitter today in terms of how his rest of the series is shaping up for him. But
he's had a hell of a playoffs up until now. And then, of course, Jamie Alexiak. That guy has been probably turned a lot of heads here because he bounced around between 3 or 4 teams.
He
in the early part
started in Dallas, and then he went to Pittsburgh, and then he went back to Dallas. And I don't know if there's another stop in between there, but bit of a different, bit of a strange situation with him. Drafted.
He's played awesome.
Yeah, he was a mid-first round pick in 2011, and just has finally found his way about 9 years later. It's a bit of a strange story, but good for him. Maybe he won't be the least famous Alexiak after this Stanley Cup final. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
I was just going to say Heiskanen, if you had to give me the choice of Makar, Hughes, or Heiskanen before this playoffs, I probably would have taken Makar or Hughes. But after these playoffs, man, tough decision if you had to pick one of those three. Heiskanen has just been outstanding, and probably him and Anton Hudobin are their leading Conn Smythe candidates, I would say. Yeah,
for sure. It has to be. I mean, the stat through the 2 rounds of the playoffs was Heiskanen was in on almost every single Dallas goal.
Yeah.
In the Flames series, I think he was in every single Dallas goal up to the blowout when they got 6 in a row there.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. He's definitely made a name for himself in this playoffs, and he's going to be a force to reckon with coming up here because he's super young. And what surprised me the most about him was his endurance. I watched when was it? I think it was the final game in their series in the 3rd round, and he was out there for 3 minutes in the 3rd period, and then they showed him once Hudobin finally covered the puck against the Knights. And he looked like he was hardly even breathing hard.
Yeah.
I couldn't even believe it. Like, he looked like he was like, just another shift,
I was out of breath watching him.
Yeah, we're in games. What's the game? Yeah, they did go to 7 games. No, 6 games. Anyways, it was the last game in the series, and 7-game series against Colorado, a physical series against the Flames. But yeah, he looked like he was like, we're just like playing pong hockey here. Okay. And he was out there for like 3 minutes in the 3rd, killing penalties and stuff like that too. So
he does make it look real effortless with his skating. He's just such an elite skater. He might be the best skating defenseman in the NHL now.
Yeah, I was going to say for sure. And out of those three defensemen that you mentioned, Hughes, Makar, and Heiskanen, I think I would take Heiskanen too, because I think he's a little bit better in his own end than the other two as well.
Yeah.
There are a few. Hughes is an outstanding talent. I'm not putting him down at all, but he needs to clean up his work in the defensive zone a little bit. There were a few breakdowns that led to goals on his part. But he'll learn.
Very responsible.
Yeah, he'll learn. And the same with Makar. Makar is an offensive-minded defenseman for sure. Crazy talented, not putting him down at all. But definitely needs to clean up his own zone a little bit too. There were a few glaring mistakes that led to goals in that Dallas series by Makar. So, but yeah, no, definitely. I think Heiskanen, look out. He's going to be. We're going to be talking about him a lot more now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think a few Norrises in the future there. You want to move on to the conference finals now?
Oh, hold on. I got to give my round 2 breakdown there.
Oh, sorry.
So I agree that the biggest shock for me was Dallas beating Colorado before, but we've already talked about that. I would say equally shocking that the Canucks took the Golden Knights to 7 games.
Yeah.
Thanks to one Thatcher Demko, who,
yeah.
man, I tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a goal. Well, in recent memory, I don't think I've ever seen a goaltending performance like that. Especially being a rookie, coming in mid-series because of Markstrom going out with injury and having as big an impact on a series as that. I mean, if that didn't happen, I think Vegas probably would have won the series in 5 or 6 games. But Demko was the only reason the Canucks made it to 7 games in that series. And man, did he ever! It was fun to watch. Being a goalie myself, he could not miss. The puck was hitting him no matter what he did. Obviously, I mean the Golden Knights, with the amount of pressure they put on him, and the Canucks, they were clearly the superior team in that series, the Golden Knights. But and they did eventually get a few past them in the 7th game. But man, that was very entertaining to watch. And even Kelly Rudy on the broadcast was like, "Man, this guy's having a series. Like, what the heck's going on here?" So yeah, Vancouver's got an interesting decision to make in the offseason, whether they go after Markstrom and resign, or do they promote Demko and go from there? Because they're going to have
problem. Sorry, I was just going to chime in on that real quick. The problem with their goaltending is that they're not going to be able to afford Markstrom unless they got so much money tied up in their bottom 6 of their forward group with guys like Beagle and Roussel and Brandon Sutter. They're going to have to do something there. And Louis Eriksson, and then they got the cap recapture penalty for Luongo for 2 more seasons, which I believe is around 3.5.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to do something to keep Markstrom. And I think another thing there was Markstrom wants expansion draft protection, and they're not willing to give him that in his contract. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there with Markstrom in Vancouver.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I wanted to talk about. We already talked about the Philly Islanders, and I'm not surprised that Tampa laid a whipping on Boston. They just were clearly the superior team there for sure. So let's move on to the conference finals.
All right. My biggest surprise was how dull at times that Tampa Bay and New York series was, especially in like games 5 and 6. Game 5, I was a snooze fest. I actually had to turn the channel at some points. I was like, man, there's just nothing happening. And I know, like, I put out a tweet on my Twitter at Adam Goodwin 91, self-promotion. I know they're playing the game that they have to play in order to win, especially against a team like Tampa that's just so high power and so deep and so good in all areas. But, man, it's just not exciting to watch. And I know Islanders fans get really defensive when they hear that about their team. And I don't blame them. It's Barry Trotz and what they have to do to win. They don't have elite offensive talent outside of Matt Barzal, who's an absolute stud. But, just not exciting to watch it at points in that series. But I think in the end, the better team won in the East for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tampa Bay was clearly the better team. But it goes to show you that, systems and coaching and strategy can get you quite far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think Tampa Bay just finally wore the Islanders down. But unfortunately, the Islanders goaltending took a nosedive in this series. Barnlov and Grice struggled a little bit in this series. And Tampa, they capitalized on those chances that they were given. But I agree with you. It was a lot of Tampa goes back to pick up the puck on their end and come in, and they didn't make it through the neutral zone, dump it back in and try it again, and then they didn't. They made it to the blue line this time. Nope, back in their own end.
A lot of 1-3-1 trapping going on in that.
Yeah, definitely. They clogged up the neutral zone, didn't give. Well, I mean, they did what they had to do to, or what they thought they had to do to beat the Lightning. But I agree with you. When it was all said and done, that Tampa Bay was definitely the powerhouse there, and is rightfully deserving to be in the Cup final. I agree.
Yeah. And I had a good feeling about Tampa as soon as they got past Columbus, because I knew they were on a redemption tour this year after that absolute embarrassment last season against Columbus. But when they dispatched Columbus in 5 games, I just had this feeling like, okay, they're going to at least make the Cup final. There's just I can't see them losing to any of the other teams after getting past Columbus. So we'll see how that takes shape in the final here. But yeah, what about you for the conference final? Any thoughts on the what we saw on the West?
Yeah, I mean, that was my surprise for sure. I did not have Dallas beating Vegas in 5 games. Like, that is just crazy.
Yeah.
I, of course, had Vegas like almost every other hockey person in this in North America, I think. Didn't have Dallas beating Vegas Golden Knights, that's for sure, especially with how the Knights have been playing to date. But I don't even know what to say about this series, because Vegas was clearly the better team in all 5 of these games. They just could not beat Goodwin. The Stars were outshot by 20 shots at least in the last 3 of the 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not just shots from the perimeter like the argument is with the Flames all the time. They were quality chances, and Goodwin was standing on his head.
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show you goaltending can win you a Stanley Cup, because Goodwin's on quite the roll right now.
Yeah, and I think something that Vegas could have done better was they did get a lot of those grade A chances, but Dallas was doing a good job, and Goodwin in particular, in not letting second and third chances develop.
Yeah, I will say that they did a good job collapsing on the net there too.
Yeah, once it hit him, he kind of kept it to him, and then Dallas with that big blue line, kind of kept Vegas out of the crease and getting many of those second or third opportunities on grade A chances. So it was an interesting series to watch. And one other thing that I thought was interesting after the series ended was Peter DeBoer's comments about Thatcher Demko rattling the Vegas players' confidence a little bit. He was in their heads, which I thought was kind of strange to say after losing in the conference final. Mentioning the goalie that you played in the semifinal just seemed a little bit weird, and I know some Vegas fans were put off by that. But yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, since Demko stood on his head the last 3 games of that series, all of the scoring for the Vegas Golden Knights pretty much dried up. I mean, Stone struggled, and you could see him on the bench. Every time he went back to the bench, he was slamming his stick. Marchessault struggled. Riley Smith struggled the whole playoffs. I've never seen so many skyward looks, like, every single chance he got. I know he got a few assists. I don't know if he cashed in any goals or not, but and then Stastny was snake bitten. I mean, if it wasn't for Theodore on the back end was driving their offense, and man, he's going to be up there with Heiskanen for some Norris trophies if he keeps going back as well.
Completely forgot to mention him. Whew.
What a crazy story. We might do a little bit of deep dive on some of these guys in future episodes here, but I was shocked that it only took 5 games, and because Dallas, they didn't play all that good against the Vegas Golden Knights. They just, for some reason, they were able to. Oh, sorry, that's what I was going to say. Vegas's goaltending took a little bit of a dip here in the Western Conference Final. I think Leonard did not have as strong a series as he had against the Canucks. He still gave Vegas a chance to win every night, but when Vegas is out shooting Dallas by 20, 25 shots, even I think there was one that was close to 30 shots, they outshot Dallas. And they ended up losing that game on, Leonard had 15 to 25 shots in that range.
Yeah.
you got to make some of those saves. I think he did play well in the playoffs. He did definitely was the reason why they beat Vancouver. I think he had a solid series there, but he struggled a bit in the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, there was that one OT winner where he kind of overcommitted on one side and got beat on the stick side.
Yeah, Radulov.
Radulov, that quick one. It was like 30 seconds into OT. He probably wants that one back. And, he definitely wasn't as good as he was against Vancouver, that's for sure.
That's funny you bring that up. I was so mad that game because I was out busy doing something and got all my work done and everything, and I just poured myself a drink and I'm like, oh, overtime, perfect. The puck was just dropped and I just put my feet up and Radulov scored. Oh, damn it.
Damn it, I got nothing to do now.
Now what am I going to do? So I was hoping it'd be like a double OT.
Get your money's worth there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that would be my surprise for sure. I definitely did not predict Dallas to be win the West by any means, but they're similar to the Islanders. They're doing what they got to do to win. They're kind of giving up some chances in their own end by collapsing down, but it's worked for them so far. I keep wanting to say Happy Bulin, but it's Hudobin. For the Stars has been a brick wall for the last two series, and in game one of the Stanley Cup final, he looked pretty damn good too. Dallas got severely outplayed by Tampa, and they ended up winning that game too. So it just goes to show you that the best team doesn't necessarily win all the time. So because Tampa is definitely head and shoulders above Dallas. I don't think there's any question talent-wise or the way they've been playing. It's just if they put a little crack in Hudobin, I think it could be over quite quickly, that series, but who knows?
Yeah, definitely. And I think going into the series, you could say Tampa had the best player at every position. Forward, I think Braden Point is the best forward, or tied with Kucherov in this series. And then on defense,
he's the best for Tampa. There's not even a question. They're a different team without Point in the lineup for sure.
Yeah, and you could tell that in the New York Islanders series. And then Hedman is just an absolute workhorse back there, man. He's so big, can skate it so effortlessly. He just controls the game. He's like a maestro back there, He's like the puppet master. He just, nothing gets by him. And Heiskanen has closed that gap between him and Hedman over the course of the playoffs, but just with his size and his physical play too, just built for the playoffs, built for these moments, and he's controlling the games. I think there's only been 2 games where the Lightning have been outchanced with him on the ice in the entirety of the playoffs, and one of those was game 1 against Dallas. So we'll see if he can kind of get back to his norm and kind of turn the tide in this series a little bit. And then in goal, I think you'd rather have Vasilevsky than Hudobin, but Hudobin's on a hot streak. He's on a heater, as they say in Vegas.
He's on a heater.
But yeah, that's sort of my thoughts. I think this one's probably it's going to go at least 6 games. I'd be very surprised if Dallas ends this in 5 games like they did against Vegas. I think Tampa's too good not to get at least 2 or 3 wins in this series.
Yeah, I think Tampa will eventually overwhelm Dallas, judging by the first game. They outshot them again by like 20 shots. And you can only do that for so long until some cracks start to show. So
yeah.
But it comes down to Vasilevsky has to be just as good on the other side too, because if Dallas is getting their 19 chances a game and 4 or 5, a handful of high danger chances, Vasilevsky's got to shut that down. Because if he lets in a couple soft ones or something like that, it might be lights out for Tampa Bay the way that Dallas is collapsing and the way that Hudobin's playing. But it'll be an interesting series for sure. Definitely one that we didn't see coming. I had Tampa coming out of the East, but I do not have Dallas. That's for sure.
Yeah, and definitely one that's going to be worth watching. I'm locking it down that I'm going to be watching every minute of game 2 after missing every minute of game 1. So looking forward to watching that one more in depth.
That's not tonight, is it?
No, it's tomorrow night,
okay,
Monday night. Though there is a back-to-back in this series, games 4 and 5. So
Okay.
I believe that's next Friday and Saturday. So
Okay.
we'll see where the series stands at that point. Anything else you want to talk about in regards to the playoffs, or do you want to move on to what we had next here?
Well, I think we should probably wrap it up. We're about an hour in. That's a pretty good summary of the playoffs, and we'll save our talk about Pietrangelo in the offseason for a future episode. I think would be the best to do there.
Okay.
So future plans for the pod. What are we trying to do, Adam?
We're trying to make this a weekly thing. It's been really hard over the summer, as we talked about. We've both been crazy busy, and yeah, just haven't been able to watch as much hockey as I'd like to, and just been
Life
busy.
gets in the way.
Yeah, because it's tough because on weekdays I'm busy in the mornings, and so are you, and then you're also pretty busy at night, and then on the weekends when you have a little bit more free time, I'm
Crazy busy.
solid, pretty much. So
So we're gonna try and schedule it out for Tuesday or Thursday nights. That seems to be the nights that we're both kind of that we can squeeze it in. So stay tuned to that. We're gonna try at least do once a week because there's no shortage of storylines to talk about now. They've said that the new season won't start until January, which I'm not surprised. Stuff like that. And there's always deep dives. There's the draft. There's free agency. There's going to be no shortage of talking points, that's for sure. Going through the quarter 4 of 2020. Hopefully it's better than the first 3 quarters. Man.
Sorry, I was going to say, even in the off season here, we can even take a look at a projected Team Canada roster for the 2022 Olympics, which are slated to happen in China. And NHL players are going. That's big news coming from the NHL over the past few months. So we could even talk about that. Always fun. It's going to be a different team heading into 2022 than it was at the last Olympics in Sochi. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, with the Seoul Olympics being passed over by the NHL, it's kind of a changing in the guard between the old Canada team and the new. But I mean, there's some young Canadian superstars, as we all know, that will be well equipped to carry the torch forward there. So
yeah, definitely.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. But with that, run down our socials again, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at offtheironpod and Instagram Off the Iron Podcast, as well as Facebook. Just search Off the Iron Podcast. We'll come up. You'll see our black background logo with our hockey player, the Flames colors on there. It's hard to miss. And then also on YouTube, just again type in Off the Iron Podcast, and we'll pop up. If you want to see our mugs talk about this, if you're more of a visual person rather than a pure audio person, feel free to watch that, as well as the Gmail offtheironpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and stay tuned for hopefully new website coming in the future. I think that'll be a good way to interact with us and to kind of host all of our content all in one spot for you guys, punch in one instead of all of our different socials that we have going out there. But really appreciate the listens from everyone out there. Hopefully everyone's staying safe in these unprecedented times. I know it's been quite a year for a lot of folks. So everyone keep your heads up out there and stay safe and stay healthy.
And stay positive.
Stay positive too. Yeah, that's all you can do.
Alrighty, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.